Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I actually have a power supply for this Canon ES2500 camcorder now. Unfortunately, in order to get that power supply, I had to buy this. And this will just be a quick little portion of the video. It's $14.99. In here, I've actually got the power supply that came with this camera, because I'm going to return it. What's in here is actually, if I go in and open it, something that I thought was rather nice, and really, frankly, would be rather nice if it worked. Here it is. It's an E61 Canovision 8. It's just a Video 8 model, nothing real fancy. Actually, it was rather low-end. It's in pretty much immaculate condition there. I can't really think of anything wrong with this, except for maybe that. And it worked fine in the store. Well, mostly. The viewfinder didn't work, but this was at least doing something, so that's why I brought it home in the first place. And when I plugged it in initially, I had a picture, although the picture was very dim. Well, a low-end radio broadcast happened, and then I went to go try it out again, and all of a sudden, instead of a picture, I was getting basically a homemade seizure test. And the image sensor area right down there was getting very, very, very hot. And it also has got that smell, you know, that fishy smell, which is a telltale sign of, unfortunately, bad capacitors. So this thing has become a victim of capacitor issues. I almost said capacitor plague. That's not quite true. It's just old. And unfortunately, I really don't feel like dealing with capacitor issues in camcorders. So that's going back $14.99. At least, you know, if I can't really exchange it, I'd love to keep the bag, but at least I got the power supply out of it. That's actually the second E61 I saw. That was on, what, Wednesday? Yeah, I think that was Wednesday. I saw, no, Tuesday, I saw an E61 and another, actually, funny enough, another one of those up there. Panasonic PV11D. Saw another one of those, both of which were way too expensive. The E61 didn't actually even work, that particular unit. This one did until I obviously did that low-end radio broadcast. Actually, I think what really did it in was my trying to insert a tape into it. That's when it really stopped working, so. Oh well. I've actually got another camera that's sitting in there. I don't know if I ever really mentioned it, but there's a camera in there. It's actually a Sony CCD F33. It's got the same problem. It doesn't quite work either. So unfortunately, it's also probably going to have to go back at some point. Although I actually can't exchange that. I'm going to have to swap a tag on something if I care. And some people will probably say that's stealing, but I mean, I've already paid money for both items at that, so I don't really classify it as stealing. It's a little evil, I will admit, but I don't really classify it as stealing. But anyways, so that's got to go back. I'll see about keeping the carrying case, but I wouldn't keep my hopes up. That's not even really what the point of the video is. The point of the video is actually going to be what is sitting underneath that charger and this mouse. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that out of there. As you can see, it is very definitely a clock radio. Okay, so this is very obviously vintage looking. And based on my limited amount of research I've been able to do, it's from the mid-1970s, maybe the late 1970s, something around there. It's a General Electric, model number 7-4610, no suffix, so no A or B or whatever. Made in Singapore, printed in Singapore, completely English only, except for that CSA certification sticker up there, and rather large in size. I mean, if I could get a VHS tape here, which I should be able to, I've got one. Yeah, here's a VHS tape. That's what a VHS tape looks like on it. So it's rather large for a clock radio, and it's got something really, really, really interesting about it that I'm sure you may have already been able to see. Piece of junk. It's got a very interesting looking display. I'm not sure if the camera will be able to pick that up. There's your tuning band. It's a little bit on the dirty side, but I can certainly clean that up. All the controls except for the snooze button, obviously, and also the tuning. There's a headphone port over there, and the band switch. It's over there, and there's a volume knob here. Tone control. Brightness for the display. It's turned all the way up. There's the radio switch, also for the sleep timer. Time set, although this is rather interesting, you push it in to set in terms of tens, and you pull it out to set in terms of, actual units. If you just do it like this, it won't do anything. There's a wake set right there, and there's your wake time thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug this thing in, and we'll take a look at what the display looks like. Yep, definitely a different looking display. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a mechanical clock radio. We'll see if we can get it to actually change here on the video, but suffice you to say that it's mechanical, and it's one of the very few, there we go, it's changing, one of the very few mechanical clocks of this type that's probably still working in the entire world. It's the only one I've ever seen of this type. I see, every once in a while I'll find a flip clock that works, like that one up there, but I've never really seen a mechanical, a rolling mechanical clock that's worked. The one thing that I think this could benefit from, some new light bulbs, because that obviously is full brightness, and that's the lowest brightness setting. It's not the brightest thing in the world. It would be brighter if I turned off all the lights in here, but it's not really all that bright. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn the radio on here. Have a listen to it. What's really impressive is there are no scratchy knobs here. I have to keep it quiet because people are trying to sleep. Got automatic frequency control, so frequencies tend to bleed into each other.
Souvent très hypothétique. I would be.
Huh.
Nelson Store. Handcrafted luxury.
Ce billet-là, il était sur ma main.
We were caught up and lost in all of
Okay, let's switch it into AM. I've never tried this. It's really quiet on AM. Of course, it's probably until the station actually comes in. Yep.
On 1310 News.
Guarantees it. If you find this
Listen to how silent that is when there isn't a station. You only ever hear stuff when it's turned up.
Team just got.
I like these digits. These digits are really cool. Popping going on.
Cannot diet. Can't stop eating.
Alright, so that's pretty much it for the radio. We'll turn that off. And the alarm is a little bit on the interesting side, so we're going to go ahead and we'll set wake to music and alarm. Notice that is completely mechanical right there. And we'll wake set it and see if that'll actually do what I want. Yeah, it will. So that's what the alarm sounds like. You can make it positively loud. I don't want to turn it up. Works just with a tap. Okay. So, here's your General Electric model number 7-4610 mechanical clock radio. I think in order to make this thing shine once again, no pun intended, I'm going to replace the incandescent lights. It actually is using a couple of, I think they're, what are they, B6 style incandescent lights. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see inside there or not with the camera. I can see inside there. Maybe the camera won't. But there are two of them. And it looks like one of them is okay and one of them is starting to get a little weak. So, I'm not really sure how that happens, considering they'd both be at the same brightness, but... oh well, maybe there's just some gunk over here that I should probably clean up, because goodness only knows there's probably like a whole bunch of dust that got in there, because it's obviously vented. Those are incandescent lights, they need to be vented. So, yeah, well, anyways, I've spent 11 minutes blathering on about this clock, so I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. I hope to see you next time. Till then.